Hello and welcome to the second Back in Business Mental Wellbeing for Business podcast.
I always try and view things with a growth mindset.
The multi-award-winning Katie Matthews runs the Mind Tribe. She runs workshops and training courses for children, parents, educators and professionals. She's fully trained, has a second business and is shortlisted in the Young Entrepreneur of the Year competition.
For me, certainly, I think hope is one of the most important things really throughout this.
And in the blue corner is Stewart White, who runs Blue Shadow. He's an instructor member of Mental Health First Aid England. He helps big firms make sure that their employees are well cared for mentally. He's been part of the corporate world himself, so he knows the score. Together, they're unstoppable.
Look, everyone has mental health in the same way everyone has physical health. Some people have mental illness in the same way some people have physical illness. You know, a lot of the time people just use mental health, I think, as this overarching term and don't necessarily distinguish between mental health and mental illness.
Yeah, you're
I don't know, maybe that's just me, but thank goodness you agree with me.
No, that's one of the things that we clarify as well with people. We say, people use that term as if it's mental illness, but it's not. Mental health is something that we all have. But also when it comes to mental illness, you can recover from that in the same way as you can recover from a physical illness. Well, a lot of people tend to think, if they get some sort of mental illness, that's it. There's no coming back, but that's wrong. You can recover as well from that.
Yeah, I think that's what was really nice, even doing the mental health first aid as somebody who lives with mental illness. It was nice to see that it was almost like a hopeful approach. You can recover from this, you can overcome the trauma, you can process things differently and reframe things that have happened. And at the moment, actually, I'm doing this, I've just started it a couple of weeks ago there. The Wave Trauma Centre and Queen's University Belfast are offering this accredited course looking at trauma and the relationship with addiction. And I've got a history, not me personally, but within my family, there's a history of addiction. And I just find it, we're only into week 2, and I find it absolutely fascinating. I've learned so much. Even just about myself in terms of processing trauma and the different theories behind it, and you're going, oh my goodness, this is describing me, this is what I do.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. I love it. I love the science part of it as well, and it's the brain is such a hugely complicated thing, but we all have one. Yeah, we all have one, and
I got to find mine sometimes though. I'm like,
yeah, but it's why are we surprised when something goes wrong if you've got billions of neurons firing off messages every second? Why are we so surprised if something goes wrong for a while? But there is, there's a lot that can be done to help people with that. I have my own experience as well, and whenever we went into lockdown, it was major panic. What am I supposed to do now? And anxiety levels just shoot up. And I know I wasn't the only one. I mean, that's one thing I have learned. I'm not the only one that experiences this. And with what was going on at the time, it's really, I couldn't think straight. I mean, I just major panic. Plan A. There wasn't really a plan B. So plan A was to get this business up and running, and I was on track. Everything was going great, and then lockdown. It's
I know. Well, I think that's why it was so hard for people mentally, is because it was sudden, and it was something that we've never experienced before. So we've got no frame of reference. Do you know what I mean? We're sitting there going, well, we've never dealt with a pandemic. What are we supposed to do? That's how do we cope being stuck within the 4 walls? I'm quite lucky in the sense of, we have a decent enough size house, so I can take myself into different rooms if I need a change of scenery. Or, even just sitting in the garden. That's one thing I found. At the beginning, it almost felt like a holiday for the first kind of 2 weeks or so, where it was I've got 2 weeks off work. I can sit in the garden, I can drink my tea and do my mindfulness and listen to the birds and, all of that there. And then it was reality actually hit me then, and I was yeah, okay, you actually need to make some money here now and pay the bills.
That's the big worry. It's how am I supposed to pay my rent? So, okay, so I'm in a one-bedroom flat in London. I don't have a balcony, let alone a garden. But, it made sense to be here to get this business going and talk to local businesses. And then it's like, so what am I supposed to do now? So to try and clear my head, I would go for long walks, which was great until they closed the parks.
Oh no.
And it's like, I used to walk through the park thinking, hey, this is great. Somebody else cuts the grass. Love this.
Yeah, that's it. You don't have to maintain anything.
Yeah, then they closed that. And, I enjoy cycling as well to try and keep fit. And cycling around London can be a bit of a...
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that would be like a stress-free experience,
No, but I mean, it's good. It's that's so it does clear your head a bit. I do enjoy it, but then, so when we went into lockdown, it was like cycling around an end of the world film set. The roads were empty. It was like, what is happening here? Yeah. Except then, when I used to cycle along the river, which was nice, then they closed the river pass because there were so many people out walking that they closed it to cyclists and runners. So that was a bit weird as well. But all these things, it's like you say, it was all of a sudden. Well, people find change difficult. I get that. I find that hard myself sometimes. But this was a sudden forced change.
Yeah, I think that's the key word there, though, isn't it? Is the forced part, because when you're struggling with mental illness anyway, when somebody then says to you, "You have to do this," it almost you're putting more pressure. It feels as if everything is starting to close in on you, and everything is just mounting and accumulating, and then you're going, "I can't see a way out of this."
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, one of the things when I was feeling isolated, and you feel the walls closing in around you, it's like, I'll go to a coffee shop and I'll sit and I'll have that buzz around me, and that really helped. Then they closed the coffee shops, and it's like, okay, so what other coping mechanisms do I have that still work for me?
What did you do? Was there anything in particular that like you actually thought, like consciously thought, okay, every day, because I can't go out, necessarily for a walk to the park, or I can't go to a coffee shop, like, was there anything that you were able to do at home that, you consciously decided every day I'm going to do this in order to, basically just look after my mental health and well-being?
Yeah, well, when I could get out, obviously we had our one form of exercise every day, so I could get out either walking or cycling, so that was good. But when I was stuck in the flat, for me, I guess music's a good thing. So, sometimes I would just put some music on, something that would help get at my emotions, I guess, release some of those emotions and just maybe help me think straight again. So I sort of go with, I listen to all sorts of music, but if I really want to get at my emotions, I'll go classical. So
oh my goodness, so do I.
Something like Dvorak's Ninth Symphony from the New World. Ironic, there you go. I just sit and listen to the whole thing, and then I would feel I was able to think a wee bit more clearly and go and do some stuff.
That's
but
great.
What would you go?
I was just going to say that the classical music is what I do. I tutor children as well. So obviously pre-pandemic, when we were able to go out to people's houses and things like that, when I needed to just decompress a bit, between lessons or at the end of the sessions, I would literally just put Classic FM on in my car. Other classical radio stations are available, and I would.
It's all right. I'm with you on that. You're okay.
But I would put that on, and it just gave me a bit of calm, and just a bit of space mentally to decompress a bit. And sometimes even now, like, I would go to sleep with it on. Like, I know I'm going to be the biggest hypocrite here, but we're always like, don't have a television in your bedroom. I put a TV in my bedroom. So, but I use it for the radio mostly to help me sleep at night. I suppose I could just get a radio, but that would be too obvious. So.
Oh yeah, so I just went that way. I got a radio. Yeah. I did that.
I was like, how can I make this complicated for myself? So, but no, that's one thing I really enjoy. Is putting it on, and it just allows me to be able to escape. And it takes you. I think music has that transformative power anyway. Like, it can take you anywhere. you know, depending on what it is that you're listening to.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's obviously, I try and incorporate some sort of, you know, musical sound into, you know, like mindfulness or meditation practice. Like that would be sort of my thing that I would try and do every day, is some sort of either mindfulness activity or, you know, like breathing exercises.
Yeah.
And it helps me manage my anxiety particularly.
Yeah, well, mindfulness is quite a good one, and I've sort of come at that quite recently when I got involved with a group called Frazzled Cafe, which was set up by Ruby Wax to provide a safe space for people just to come together as a group and talk about how they're feeling. And we sort of start and finish that with a brief mindfulness exercise. So I went along initially just when I needed some help myself, but then I got involved. So when we went into lockdown, of course, those were face-to-face meetings, but they went online quite quickly, and there was a huge demand for that. So that was actually really good for me to be part of that, and just feel I was able to help other people as well. But when it comes to mindfulness, there is only one, as far as I'm concerned. It's something they call the chocolate meditation. Now, we don't do that online, but I have to say that is, for me,
that is amazing. I do that with... Yeah, I do that with all my sessions, literally, the kids particularly. Oh my goodness. You want to see it, them trying to control their impulses, and like, they're, by the end of it, they're like, please can I eat the chocolate?
Yeah, I haven't tried that with adults yet. Probably wouldn't be allowed.
Oh, it's brilliant. Oh no, it's so funny. I've done it with adults. It's hilarious. I did it in a corporate environment. And I was like, why not? And we've got to have a little bit of fun sometimes, be a bit silly. And by the end of it, honestly, they were laughing their heads off. They were like, "This is so funny," like, and it kind of made everybody relax a bit as well. You know, it took down some of the barriers. You know, like, right, this is a formal training course. We must learn X, Y, and Z, and that's it. You know, it shows. I think it brings like a human element to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it doesn't have to be so clinical all the time.
No, I love that. Love that. So. How about your business? What did you actually manage to do to keep going?
Well, I've got a couple of businesses. So I say I've got the tuition company, and I was able to move all my lessons pretty seamlessly, to be honest, onto just online, using a couple of different platforms, which I'm actually still doing now. I had to shield basically for 6 months, because I'm on the extremely vulnerable list. And I'm actually kind of still shielding now, to be honest, just to keep myself right, basically, because I went out for 2 weeks and got a chest infection. So I was like, okay, clearly being around people doesn't agree with my body currently.
You're in Northern Ireland as well now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not quite as warm as over here.
That's it. So yeah, I was able to move the tuition, as I say, you know, pretty seamlessly online. And then in terms of the other training, I basically just sat down and was like, right, obviously I'm going to have to do online delivery here. And I was just trying to edit, you know, the presentations and things and make them so that they were more appropriate for online delivery. Because obviously, you know, you're not going to be able to do necessarily the flip chart exercises. You're not going to be able to do the ones where you stand up and move around as such. So, you know, it was just adapting things and making it more relevant to obviously the current situation. But to be honest, I've actually really enjoyed delivering them online. I don't know if that's partially to do with my own mental illness, you know, in terms of it doesn't give me anxiety when I'm delivering it online. I don't feel so anxious. But I don't know if it's because that face-to-face element is removed. I don't know. Have you found anything like, you know, you were saying about the mental health first aid delivery online? Have you delivered any of them online yet?
Yeah, I've done a few now, and I mean, the first thing for me is I'm just so pleased to be able to do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is very, very different when you're looking at people in quite often a 1-inch sort of size picture on screen. Well, when you've got sort of 12 or even 16 people in an online course, and you've got all the pictures in front of you, you're dealing with some pretty small pictures. Mm-hmm. So that can be quite challenging, but particularly when if I'm concerned with some of the subjects we talk about, that to make sure people are okay. But I just think it's just so good to have a group of people, even if they're on screen, and you can actually tell quite a lot from on screen, even with a small picture. It is pretty good, and just you can still interact with people. Obviously, it's not the same, the face-to-face stuff. You mentioned sort of flip charts and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic, isn't it, when you're with somebody in person? I think it just feels different.
It is, and you're very different. Yeah.
Able to more able to gauge people's emotion and tone and expression and things like that. You know, you can probably hear I'm very expressive in the way that I speak. I'm up and down and but that's what I enjoy about the face-to-face is, you know, you've got that interaction, and you can do, you know, role plays, you can do more group activities. So that's something I think that has been hard in terms of the business side, but also even personally, you know, as I say, because I was shielding, you're not seeing people, you're not, I know it sounds weird, but you can't touch anybody, you know, you can't hug anyone.
Yeah.
And that's what, obviously, naturally, as humans, we want to do that. You know, we need comfort, we need community, we need connection.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I really, really miss that. And the other thing, yeah, the body language is so important because you actually get so much more from that, and people don't realise just how much they can read from body language. Whereas on screen, you just sort of get from shoulders up.
Shoulders up.
You know, so obviously, whenever I'm doing any sort of training online, you know, it's a proper shirt on, all the rest, you know, very business-like, very professional-like, but...
Pajamas on the bottom.
Oh, well, I'd say, yeah, so I would say shorts, because certainly in the warmer weather here, you know, it's like, oh, I'm not going to put a suit on for this, you know. But top half, very smart, you know. I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No, literally, I'm the worst.
So
I don't think I didn't wear anything apart from pajama bottoms for 6 months. So.
Oh dear, people only knew. But I would sometimes wonder, with all these pictures on screen, what's the bottom half look like? But there you go.
Don't ask that too much.
Made the mistake one day of standing up to adjust the blinds, but I had shorts.
Oh
on,
no!
So we're okay.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be like a total horror story. I was like, oh my goodness, please.
We're okay. So what about getting new clients or anything like that? Were you able to do any of that during lockdown?
Not, excuse me, no, not in terms of corporate clients. I think because obviously everybody is worried about money, everyone's holding on to their money. You know, it's the first time that myself and my partner, we've actually had to go onto universal credit because we fall into the 5% that didn't qualify for any funding at all. And we're both self-employed, so that was a nice big blow for us. You know, and that was hard to deal with, you know, in terms of, you know, struggling with mental illness, because you can't go out, you can't see anybody, you can't hug anyone, so you're not getting any comfort. There's no money coming in. You're struggling, you know, to keep the lights on, essentially. And yet there's almost, it was like a split thing where it was, okay, yes, we're aware this is going on, but at the same time, you're almost just trying to keep ploughing on as normal.
Yeah.
Or in quotes, shall I say normal, you know, and you're going, but this isn't a normal situation.
Yeah.
We have to adapt.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, my normal had changed because I took a different direction this year, and just as that was starting to get going, I was just starting to see some money coming in from it, and then it was like, oh, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And I thought, well, you know, to be honest, I had a lot of faith, and I don't envy the Chancellor his job, but I did have a lot of faith. No. I had a lot of faith in that he would come up with something, because I set my business up according to government guidelines, right? So set up as a limited company, and you know, a lot of corporates won't deal with you unless you're a limited company. So did all that, did it the way I was supposed to do. Everything's all properly done, signed and sealed. And then the Chancellor made this announcement, and because I only set up my business last year, I don't have a year's worth of accounts. I don't have any of the things that he said I needed to get some help. So I'm sitting there after that announcement, sitting stunned, thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, and it's like exactly my rent's due at the end of the month, as well as all the other bills. How am I going to deal with that? So I went into sort of major panic mode for a while, and it was like, just trying to figure out a way forward with this. In the meantime,
Yeah.
anytime I was talking to somebody, I'm just sort of trying to hide all of that, thinking, no, don't let on, don't let on. Something will come good. But yeah, that was a terrible time.
Yeah.
Just trying to look at some figures and figure out a way to get through this without any help. To be honest,
That's
it just felt really unfair, because yeah, I mean, particularly when you think of what I'm trying to do here and
Yeah.
teach people about mental health and how to look after themselves and other people. It's like, surely there's such a great need for that. You're telling me I can't do it, and you're telling me you're not going to help me survive.
Yeah.
What
Well, no, that's exactly how we felt. Like, what are we
Yeah.
supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know, apologies, there's a train going past my house. I'll do that again. What are we supposed to do? We're, you know, we're in this, as you say, position where we're just left in the lurch. There's no plan, and you know, I know that if I needed to, I could get support from family or from other people. You know, I know that they would try their best to help us, but at the same time, you don't know what other people are going through. You know, they're having their own battles, and they could be struggling themselves with mental illness and not talking about it.
That's
You know,
right.
and bottling all that up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I'm kind of worried about, to be honest, is us coming out of lockdown or post-pandemic, whenever that whenever that is. You know, and that's the thing. I don't know if you're the same, but that's another thing that kind of triggers my anxiety, is the not having control. So
Yeah.
because I don't know when it's going to end, because I don't know what the plan is, that's making it worse, because you're in this constant flux state of, what am I doing here? You know, where are we
Yeah.
going? What's the target?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to plan, at the best of times, but how can you plan with so much uncertainty? So just before we went into lockdown, when I was trying to get clients and get the business going, so I was looking at local business networking groups, and I joined one. So I'm in Hammersmith, so there's a group called Your Business Community would meet in Hammersmith. So I'd gone to a few meetings and joined up with those guys, and that was really, really good, just to meet local business people. So when we went into lockdown, so I looked at that and thought, well, okay, while I'm waiting for an online version so I can actually do some training, I thought, well, I'll keep in with the business networking and see who I can get to meet. So, as I say, they went online very quickly, and instead of just meeting local business people, I was meeting business people from other groups in London, and really people from the rest of the country, and that was great. Just so making those sort of connections, and you never know who you're going to meet. It's just a really, really good thing to do that and start to build your network whilst you're looking for a way to get your business going again. So
yeah, I think, sorry to cut across you there, it's just you just sparked something in my head. I think that's been one of the positive things that has actually happened because of the pandemic. A lot of the time we just think, that all of it's been negative, but there have been some bits of it that I've actually really enjoyed, which probably sounds weird. There's some parts of it, the fact that people have been able to spend more time at home. They've spent more time with their partners or families or friends, depending obviously on their living circumstances. You've got parents that are able to spend more time with their children, and it's quality time. They've been able to, as you say, make new business connections, because all of a sudden, our market isn't just restricted to where we live and where we can deliver face-to-face sessions. So
right.
Over the last few weeks, it's been amazing. I couldn't believe it. I've been delivering training to people in Europe, in Spain and Greece and stuff. And I'm like, what? This is amazing. And it's been, really, really rewarding and really exciting. And I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if this pandemic hadn't have happened, would I have necessarily done that? Would that transition have happened as quickly?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's something I thought about as well, because I have met people from different parts of the world and business networking meetings, and that's amazing. I was talking to somebody recently in Australia, and we were talking about
wow.
how the pandemic is being addressed there, and they were in lockdown. They had a curfew. There was all sorts of things going on. I'm sort of thinking, wow, but it was as clear as I'm talking to you, and just on the other side of the world. That sort of thing's incredible when with this technology, and we've really had to get used to this. I would always have chosen to meet face to face, but recently we've had to get used to this sort of thing. So that's really good, and I can see this continuing because
that's what I'm thinking in the future. I think this is going to carry on. A lot of people I think are going to continue with this agile or flexible working from home more, and connecting. The world has opened up more, almost like we always had the internet, yes, but now we've all been forced to use it to stay in contact. People, I think, are realising, my goodness, this actually is kind of working well for us.
It is, and this is so much better now even than it was a few months ago. So I remember video conferencing, it was very sort of Thunderbirds, movements. It has really come on now to a much sort of more realistic environment. But it also, for me, it's scary in a way when I think, I'm now competing against trainers throughout England rather than just locally. But if I flip that over, it also means I can train people anywhere in the country. I don't just have to train people locally. So
that's how I always try and like view things with like a growth mindset. So I'm like, this is an opportunity. Think of it as an opportunity, and try to take the positive out of it.
No, that's absolutely great. Yeah, so that's what we have to look for, I guess. There's got to be a way forward, and just sort of, for me, certainly, I think hope is one of the most important things really throughout this. Just keep that sense of hope that things will get better. I'll survive this, and I'll be able to get my business moving again. So that's what I would say to people. Keep that sense of hope that we will get through this thing. Things will improve. And I think that's so important, because if you lose that sense of hope, what is there really?
Yeah. No, I know, that's what, even when I've been in sort of like really dark places over the years, and to be honest, it was starting to creep back in at the start of lockdown, and I started thinking, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, what am I doing? What's the point? And then you start to ruminate and you start to catastrophize, and, because you're stuck in your own head, but you're also physically stuck in a building.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's been really difficult. I mean, my own experience with depression was really, what sort of took me down this path. But I called my business Blue Shadow, basically from my own idea of depression, that it's much more than just being blue. It's something that stays with you. It's like sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it feels smaller, but it's like a shadow, and it's always there. And I've had some ups and downs, serious ups and downs throughout this, just trying to figure a way forward like that. And it's very easy. Sometimes it's just a little thing that'll trigger sort of depression, and you can't always see it coming. So having coping mechanisms, ways of dealing with that, for me, that's what really gets me through.
Massively.
We've talked about some of those already, but yeah.
Are there any other ones? Is there anything that you do like on a daily basis? Some people will practice gratitude, or they'll do affirmations, or they'll do. Oh, I know one that I literally love doing. Have you heard of it, Wim Hof?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Oh my goodness, you need to look it up. It is amazing. I looked it up it must be about a year ago now, and honestly, look him up, he's a legend. So it will help you so much. He was on this morning, as in the programme, I think it was last week or the week before, and he was talking about, he's basically got this, I'm probably going to ruin or not convey this correctly, but it's basically like a breathing activity that he's designed, but it's actually been proven scientifically to strengthen your immune system, and to support basically your mental health, your resilience. And they actually did a test, I think it was E. coli that they injected into him, in a obviously controlled hospital environment, and they were monitoring his body, and because of the breathing exercises that he does, he was able to stop himself from getting ill.
Wow.
Like he was at, yeah, that's what I was like, what? When I first heard that, I was like, surely that's not real. And then I watched the documentary and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I do think if you're mentally strong and physically well, you can sort of keep illnesses at bay. And even with your mental health, if you're physically well, one can affect the other. So if you're physically well, your mental health can be very, very positive as well. I think for me, it's not just one thing I do every day. Every day is different for me, and some days it'll help if I do, particular thing. And other days that maybe not work for me. So I try to keep physically active. So walking or cycling at least once every day if I can. And I'll even go for a walk in the rain because I grew up with that. So.
I won't.
So that's good for me. I could say there is one thing that works every day, and that's chocolate. But we should probably stay. I believe that helps with everything. Maybe we should stay away from that because that has its downsides as well. But yeah, I usually.
Well, that's what when you're saying there about like being healthier, and obviously we know there's that connection between your gut health and your mental health. Yeah. I've been trying really hard. That's what I mean. This lockdown has been really good for me. Like I've lost nearly 3 stone, and that's without doing any exercise, because obviously I was shielding. That's just from monitoring what we were eating and just taking a bit of that control back, because obviously I couldn't control much, So that was one of the things that I could control in my environment was obviously what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies, what we're doing every day. So that kind of helped me in terms of my anxiety a bit, was the fact that I can control that aspect of our health. And my partner's lost 2.5 stone as well, so still got about 8 stone to go, but sure.
No, that's great. I probably haven't been quite as good as you in the healthy eating all the time. But I think certainly at the start of lockdown, one of the best things was to sort of have some sort of routine. Because if you have a routine, you have a reason to get up and things to do, and you do that. Sometimes I would even go for a walk first thing in the morning, then come back to my desk, as if it was like a commute to work. But it sort of gets me out.
Well, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, like clears your head.
I come back and I pretend I've come to the workplace. It is just still the flat, but that can help sometimes. Just
that was
to clear my
Stuart
head
and Katie. And the next Mental Wellbeing for Business podcast will be back in mid-November.